All right, we're back on Sports 225. I'm Lee Feinswag. Kevin Mawae is my guest, the former LSU football player whose NFL career started in the 94 season?
94.
94, yeah. Drafted by the Seahawks.
Yep.
And I should point out, before I forget, Kevin is of Hawaiian descent and is going into the Polynesian Athletic Hall of Fame.
Yeah, Football Hall of Fame.
Wow.
Yeah, first year, inaugural class, so I'm pretty excited about that.
Well, you know, that includes not only Hawaiian guys, but an awful lot of Samoans.
Samoan, Tongan, Fijians, New Zealanders, anything in that 800,000 square mile area of Polynesia that have a descent from there.
We could spend the whole show just talking about the whole thing from Samoa, which is amazing,
the
percentages and
Absolutely.
everything. Yeah. But anyway, so you go to Seattle, which is a fantastic place, although I got a quick story about that. I did a story out there on oh gosh, the quarterback, Matt, I'm blanking out. Anyway,
Hasselbeck.
Hasselbeck.
Okay.
Thank you so much. And I'm out there standing at practice, and it's September. It's a nice 75-degree day, the sun's shining, and then all of a sudden it starts raining, which of course it does in Seattle all the time. And I'm pulling up the Gore-Tex raincoat and covering up my stuff, and it's not a hard rain, just a soft enough rain. None of the reporters even blink. None of them even put their notebooks in their pocket or anything because they're so used to it.
Yeah, it's just the way it was up there. It's just you learn to golf in the rain, and it sets in October and it doesn't stop until March. So you just kind of dealt with it.
That was fun though. I bet being out there, real nice change of pace.
It was for me. You know, my wife and I just got married while we were at LSU. We moved 3,000 miles away. It was great for our marriage because we had to be dependent on each other, but it was also good because my mom is from Washington State, and a lot of people don't know that.
Oh, I didn't know.
My dad, born and raised in Hawaii, when he joined the military, his brothers and sisters and parents moved to Washington State. So I was 2 hours away from my grandparents and all my cousins. So it being in a military family, not growing up around your family, the extended family, having lived in Seattle for 4 years, I had cousins at every game. My grandparents came, aunts, uncles. So that was pretty special. It was a neat deal. But it was neat to find, one, realize a dream playing in the NFL, two, play for a team that your family really cared about, and three, living in Seattle was an incredible experience after being all over the world as a military brat, but then growing up in Leesville and then pulling ourselves out of Baton Rouge. It was a fun time.
And it was an interesting team at that time.
We were a very good average team.
Yeah.
I played. Well, Cortez Kennedy had just come off a Defensive Player of the Year campaign. Rick Meyer was a first-round draft pick quarterback out of Notre Dame. He was going into his second season, so there's a lot of expectations. Chris Warren was our running back, and it was a transition from older players into the new NFL with a new collective bargaining agreement and there's a new beginning of the salary cap era, and so it was neat. But we were an average team. I think 8-8 was our best season. We were always that 7-9 deal, but 8-8 was a good season. The league was different. You were home for Christmas if you didn't make the playoffs and all that. But I played with some really good players there. My last year there, I played with Warren Moon. He was my quarterback. And so there were some great players on that team.
Then you ended up with the Jets, and
New York Jets.
that vaulted you into national prominence as a football player,
Yes.
but then began to change your political end of your career as well.
Absolutely. In 1998, my contract was up. I wanted to stay with Seattle. Financially, what they were offering versus what I could have gotten in the free market wasn't even comparable. I visited the Saints that year, the Philadelphia Eagles, San Diego Chargers, and the New York Jets. And Bill Parcells was the head coach of the Jets at the time. Oh. And to sit across from him and him explain what his plans were for the future of the team and where the center fit in and what he expected out of whoever took over that role, I just knew it was the right place to be. So we signed with the New York Jets. He made me the highest paid center in the history of the NFL that year in '98. And you go from a very small media market in the West Coast that was a very average team playing for in New York, in the #1 media market in the world, for a team that just people die for, as far as the fan base goes, and a coach who would become a future Hall of Famer, and the chemistry was just right. And we had a great season that year. Went 12-4, went to the AFC Championship game, and from there my career just took off as far as notoriety, who I was. I made my first Pro Bowl there. Ended up going 6 straight Pro Bowls. We won 3 division titles. Went to the playoffs 4 times, and in the political side of it, I became the team rep at my first year there, served for 4 years, and while I was there, became a vice president of the PA. and so got really heavily involved in the business aspect of the game on top of just being on the field.
Must have been an interesting time.
I
could just imagine.
Was.
Where'd you live in New York?
I lived in Garden City, which is
Yeah.
out on Long Island. Our team was headquartered at Hofstra University.
So it was an
And
easy commute to
it was,
practice.
I was two miles away. It was a harder trip going to the games, the night before the game than it was actually just going to practice. There were days where I would ride my bike.
You played in Shea Stadium.
No, I played in the Meadowlands.
Meadowlands?
Yeah.
Oh, so you didn't play in Shea?
No, we did not play in
done
Shea.
that?
We had already
You're
been
lucky.
in the Meadowlands. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it would have been a whole lot nicer to play at Shea because it's closer. But
Right.
it took us longer to get home after a home game from the Meadowlands than it did to fly in from Buffalo or New England. We'd just get home faster after a road trip game.
Yeah, if our traffic here in Baton Rouge is bad. Okay, there's no doubt. But you just have no idea if you've never lived in New York.
Oh, yeah, there's you always two bridges and a tunnel. No matter where you went, you either got to go through a bridge or two tunnels, or a tunnel and two bridges, and so if you didn't time it right, and if it was a close game, the fans stayed till the very end. So there was no blowout, and you get on the road and you're home in 30 minutes. It was always a 2.5, 3 hour drive home after a game. But it was a great place to play, a great city. We had a poster in our locker room said, "You want to own this town," and it was a skyline of New York City. He goes, "Just win," and that's what it was. If you won, and I go back there now, even 8 years, 10 years later, and people welcome me. "Hey, Kevin, welcome home,"
That's
kind
great.
of thing, because they love their fans, they love their Jets, and if you were a pretty good ball player for the New York Jets, then they just welcome you with open arms up there.
It's awesome. You finished up at Tennessee, but if I don't go to break and give us a couple minutes to talk about LSU football, we won't have any time to talk about LSU football. Kevin Mawae with me, the former LSU football player. His NFL career included stops in Seattle, New York, and the Tennessee Titans. He lives in Baton Rouge now, and when we get back, we'll talk about LSU football here on Sports 225.